Before you ask, did I not know that this chapter had been released? Then you need to know, yes, I did know that it had been released. And if you're asking them why haven't you reviewed, were your hatred so deep that you didn't even want to review it? And my answer to that question is no. I simply do not have time. And then you may very well say, but you have all the time in the world. And I'll say, yeah, you are completely correct. But when you are on the autistic spectrum, on break, have to do other meaningless things, then you hardly have ever the stamina to review again. It doesn't help that I have to use slow computers. I wish there was a faster way for me to review, but I do not have one. So my hatred for what I haven't liked or so is none of the reason why these reviews are late. Sorry, it is simply because time is not always on my side. Enough whining. Now, this is Shokugeki no Soma Last Dessert 2, meaning it's the Epilouge 2. What was it? 4 epilogues before we got to the end. And let me tell you, this was a doozy of a chapter. Does that mean it was good? Well, you decide that. But it did reveal one thing that a lot of people may actually have guessed. You know, a lot of people did say that when they saw him, you know, he looks a lot like Asashi. Only for it to turn out there was a reason why. So you really want to redeem such a jerk-ass character because in the end he was just misguided. You do also realize that this could actually have been surprise incest. I mean, granted, however, there's many people who watch... I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people who watch incest hentai or whatever, something like that, especially when it's sister or brother. But, I mean, come on. Everyone has a fetish. That doesn't mean they will do it in themselves, I'm just saying. But what I mean is, this would not have been so good if they had found out and he had forced himself on her. Quite an awkward position. Although technically half doesn't necessarily mean full, but you get my point. Alright, enough about that. What is happening in this one chapter? Well, we see Yochiro's journey over this thing. How he traveled the thing. He ended up in the familiar restaurant that was the Yukihara dinner. It was there he had traveled along and actually still had cooked for some people because they knew his name. But he never really felt that drive again when it came to cooking. Then he got to that restaurant and he wanted to pick the chef's special. And of course that's where he met Tamako, the very strange girl. And not even Yochiro, a man who really had the taste for strange dishes, could stomach her food. And it turns out that Tamako, Tamako was her name. Actually was a delinquent back in the day. I guess that makes sense. I mean, she did have a tomboyish-like face and all. So, and she even smokes things out of habit. So, despite the fact that Yoshiro didn't really like the cooking and felt like, and the fact that it served bombs, he was surprised though that every single one, despite the fact that they all admitted they didn't like it, didn't mind Tamako. As Soma explained, Tamako was a worthless cook. Or maybe worthless is a too bad word. Tamako was an extremely bad cook. But she had a presence and an aura which made people love her, despite what she did faulty. And so Yoshiro, every time he came back to Japan, he visited the place. And of course he always cooked better than Tamako. Well, granted, he was one of the best chefs ever, so that's a given. He began to really hang out there a lot and even also feel like Tamako's presence gave a life into him again. And so he asked her that even when Tamako was such a bad cook, why did she keep on cooking? And all she said was, there's one thing really, I do want, that's what I always will, though. I do like big smiles on customers' faces, can't that be enough? So for Tamako, it didn't matter if she was a bad cook. All she wanted was to see customers' smiling faces. And that was one of the moments that really reignited Yochiro's thing. In the end, they sat on a pier, talked to each other, and even Tamako admitted that Yoshiro was a better cook than her, and said that they needed a promotion. And with that, well, they ended up a couple. Tamako got pregnant. Tamako gave birth to Soma. Well, Yoshiro didn't really want him to be a cook, as we know. He wanted to decide his own path. But it was actually apparent that ever since he was a baby, he already held a baby knife. Not a real knife. And was even interested in doing all that stuff. It is also revealed that on that photo, that very obscure photo of the Yukihara family, we can barely see Tamako. There were some complaining we have that Soma's mom apparently was blonde-haired, and according to this flashback, Tamako's hair was black blonde or whatever, a delinquent hairstyle. So it's actually revealed that the reason that photo of them is because Tamako, when she realized that she had to visit school, felt like she didn't look so much motherly. So she dyed her hair and cut it. Or at least the barber drugged her and cut it. With that, they took that photo that we saw in the very first chapter. And that was the Yukihara family. We do not hear how she died though, nor of when she died. Only that she died when Soma was very young. But I guess that didn't matter. Now we get to the point where I'm actually not even sure what happened. Erina really wanted to begin to work with family amendments. And so Asami begins to tell a certain story that even he himself didn't know. And we switch into Asashi, who visited his drunken mother's grave. As his mother was quite an abusive person, she never really clicked in. And then some people visited her grave, but it appeared to only have been people she has slept with. It's not exactly known what Asashi's job was, but judging from the drink and everything, maybe she was a prostitute or something. Or maybe Asami said, and I don't remember. Then again, I never really cared for Asami as a character, so Asashi as a character, so I guess it makes sense. Either way, it's revealed that one of these drunks actually reveals that they know she had a kid, but they don't know what happened to that kid. And they don't even know what happened to the father. But all they said it was a one night stand with a young Asian man. And who was this young Asian man? Well, it turns out to have been none other than Asami. And this was before he met and courted Mana. I mean, according to Mana actually recognized that he had the blood of the, not the Naikiri family. This is Asami. Is technically not a Naikiri, but she could actually see that Asashi were Asami's son just by looking at him. And after the tournament, she digged into things, and after comparing DNA and all that stuff, realized it. And Asami actually realized that was true, because when he was down in the dumps after Yochiro's departure, he was quite weak-willed, and so he was courted by a one-night stand by a young, attractive woman. That was Asami's mother, and so, the rest is history. So technically, Asashi courted his half-sister. Yep. Let that slink in you for a moment. So Erina slaps her father, but only because that she's sick of hearing him mope about neglecting everything else. And even Mana seems to have been impressed about that. So as Asashi thinks back on the fact that he is now the son of Asami, he wonders what will happen with Erina approaching him and saying that you are a member of my family, therefore I will accept you into the family. I guess that is to give redemption to Asashi, which, by the way, I did not really like. He was a jerk through and through, but I guess in the end the damage here is meant to say that everyone deserves a second chance, isn't that right? So yeah, with that, the elder brothers assembled into the clan. Well, that was the second epilogue chapter. How many are left? 2? Well, I hope that at least this cleans up the Naikiri family. Still got no answer on how Tamako died. Only on how Yoichiro met her, and actually not really a big explanation on how he fell in love with her. Except maybe it was her warm charisma that warmed up. So what is my point on this? I mean, don't get me wrong, that surprise incest thing, that doesn't shock me that much. I mean, don't get me wrong, I didn't expect it, even if Asashi looked like Asami. I just thought it was a case of, only 6 faces. It doesn't matter how talented a drawer is, there will always be some drawing that will look similar. So, and I am not an artist myself. No, I am not an artist myself, don't misunderstand. So, I can't draw for the life of me. But when someone do look like someone, I always will have things. And there have been some characters that have been looking like some people, and in the end they have no connection at all. So this surprising, relative thing, it doesn't bother me that much. It bothers me more that Asashi and Asami had to get a little redemption, but I guess everyone had to have closing chapters. Now can you give them to Megami? Please? Give me your thoughts if you have any.